And here we go. It's Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker. Amanda looks surprised. Were you a little surprised there? Were you shocked? Did I surprise you?
You scared me a little.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let's get rolling here. It is a Friday before Tennessee, Georgia. It gets no better. Your thoughts on the message board and a matchup that the nation will be watching. Historic. Absolutely. We'll get to that. This is Off the Hook Sports with Amanda LaFratta and me, Dave Hooker.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
What? Do what?
Let the dogs out. You know, like, who let the dogs out? Who?
Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. Always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Always available wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
All right, here we go. It is a Friday. Happy Friday to you, and a Friday like none other. We will get to that as it's Tennessee, Georgia in an epic matchup. I can't imagine it being any bigger, Amanda LaFratta, than it is. How are you? Good morning.
I am doing well, Dave. How are you?
I'm well. I'm ready to get rolling here. We're going to go to the message board and we'll get some thoughts. So Brittany says, good morning. Happy Friday, Vols. And a lot of Go Big Orange from Jamie. Daniel says, good morning. Nugs is out there as well. So please subscribe, like, and share. We've got a monster show on tap. Former Vol Jonathan Crompton will join us, as will this young man, Caleb Calhoun, right now. Caleb Calhoun writes for us at Off the Hook Sports, does a fantastic job. And also, we will visit with Coach Lance, which always makes me laugh, and I absolutely love it. So subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Listen, watch, and enjoy. Caleb Calhoun, how are you this morning?
Feeling great. Happy Friday, guys.
Yeah, this is...
Did you shave?
I shaved.
You
That's
did.
part of the reason I feel better. I want people to know the beard was not part of a style. The beard was just me being too lazy to shave. Like...
I've
Either
been
way.
there. I would go there every once in a while until mine turned like 3/4 white. And then that's when I started shaving on a regular basis. So
At the age of 32, though? 3/4 white, Dave?
Yeah, it's pretty early. It was early 30s. Like I was a goatee guy until right at 32 to 35, somewhere in there.
No, but you said you're only 32 right now.
Oh, you're right. I'm only
Yes.
32 right now. But no, in all sincerity, though, it was about that age where it started going white. And the hair hasn't followed it yet, which is good. So I'm pleased with that. So we've got a monster show lined up. As I mentioned, Jonathan Crompton will join us. And we'll begin it with the Down and Dirty at 30. The Down and Dirty at 30 is brought to you by Nutrition World. Man, Nutrition World is your home for supplements. Don't trust some acronym store that's just going to sell you whatever they're trying to get off the shelves. Go to nutritionw.com, nutritionw.com. All of your supplements are right there, and you'll know you'll get quality. If you're putting stuff in your body, don't put stuff that you're not sure of. So as I've said before, we only have advertisers on this program and on our website that we believe in, and Nutrition World is certainly one of those. nutritionw.com. All right, the Down and Dirty at 30. Let's go ahead and get to that right now. And I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, and there is a specific reason. And the reason is this is just an absolutely historic game, guys. There's no question about it. So let's take a look at some of the numbers. How many times has Tennessee been in a 1-2 matchup according to the AP top 25 poll? Now is taken over by the college football playoff, but that would be when? Only once, January the 4th, 1999. So this is the AP poll. We're going to get to some college football playoff numbers as well. But for historical perspective, when you look at a 1-2 matchup, that's only happened once, and that's been Tennessee and Florida State, which that was, of course, the national championship game. Tennessee also a number 1 versus number 2 regular season game since 2000. 2000, it has not happened often at all. You can go back to Ohio State, Texas in 2006, Ohio State, Michigan in 2006, LSU, Alabama 2011, LSU, Alabama 2019, Tennessee at Georgia 2022. So, as far as a regular season, it has just happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times since 2000. That's just unbelievable to me. And an 8-0 start. And I'll go to the historian Caleb Calhoun on this. Josh Heupel, 2022. He has done it. An 8-0 start. That has only happened 7 times. 7 times in the history of the program. Josh Heupel, 2022. Philip Fulmer, 1998, an 8-0 start. Of course, they went on to win the national title. 1956, Bowden Wyatt, and then, some guy that was a general and had one of the most awesome lives that you can possibly imagine because he fought for our country and was one of the best football coaches, I believe, underrated when you look back over history. General Neyland did it 4 times, went 8-0. Caleb, you're the history buff. Pretty heavy numbers.
Yeah, very impressive numbers. I wrote a few weeks ago, Tennessee, since joining the SEC in 1933, has never failed to win the SEC title after a 6-0 start. Funny enough, and now they're up to 8-0. Another tidbit we should throw in there is the highest combined regular season matchup Tennessee's ever played in. Before this one was that 1956 year. Tennessee was number 3. Georgia Tech was number 2. Tennessee was visiting Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was in the SEC at the time. Tennessee had a Heisman candidate then, too, a guy by the name of Johnny Majors. And they beat Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech 6-0. That clinched them the SEC championship. They finished the year 10-0, and Johnny Majors got robbed of the Heisman. Some people think Tennessee got robbed of the national title, too. They gave it to Oklahoma, but Oklahoma was in the midst of like a 47-game winning streak. So I understand why the pollsters gave it to Oklahoma that year. But a lot of similarities to that Georgia Tech game and this Georgia game. Tennessee's the underdog. They're visiting a team in Georgia. It's an SEC matchup, top 5 matchup, Heisman candidate for Tennessee. Tennessee had a second-year head coach. The 1956 game, Tennessee, both head coaches played at Tennessee because Bowden Wyatt was at Tennessee and Bobby Dodd was at Georgia Tech.
Good stuff. And I didn't know this. I don't know if you saw this on the Twitter. I sent this out yesterday. I saw a plaque that had this is the home of the origination or the meeting of the SEC, and that was in downtown Knoxville. You're the historian. Did you know that?
Yep.
I didn't know that. So it was the Southern Conference at the time, and then right next to Clancy's Tavern and Ale House, Whiskey Ale House. It's a good place to eat, good Irish food. But then right next door is now a hotel, and so that's, you probably know more history about it than I do, Caleb. That's where the SEC was first introduced to the world, first organized, however you want to phrase it. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the Southern Conference was way too big at the time. We're talking, I think, 30 teams are in the Southern Conference. And like, how do you crown a champion when at the time you're playing 6 conference games and you got 30 teams in the conference? So they agreed on the split. They decided the schools west and south of the Appalachian Mountains in the Southern Conference would join the SEC. And there's 10 original members: Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and LSU. Also in there were Georgia Tech, Tulane, and another school by the name of Sewanee.
Yep. Sewanee was in there. And then I don't know the history of how Tech wasn't in the SEC. We'll dive into that at some point, because at some point they went ACC, and that was a bad decision.
They didn't like the there were scholarship limits that they didn't agree with that the SEC had. They thought the SEC should impose scholarship limits, and so they didn't like that, so they bailed.
I gotcha. Well, interesting. Okay, so Tennessee is a draw, way beyond those that wear orange, way beyond those that know every single word to Rocky Top. These are some interesting numbers that we pulled thanks to Tennessee Sports Information Department. 28.7 million combined total viewers versus Power 5 opponents. 11.6 million. The most watched college football game this season, that was against Alabama. 4 million, the third most watched game on cable. And if you look at some of the ESPN PR numbers, this is from just last week. So Michigan State, you would think, would beat Tennessee, Kentucky, which has never really been much of a rivalry, even though Kentucky thinks it is. And it did, 5.6 million, but you're at least in the ballpark with 4 million for a Kentucky-Tennessee game. And those used to be such snooze fest in November. And Amanda, I don't think any Tennessee game is a snooze fest now because how exciting their offense is. And we talk about how important Saturday is, but what has already been achieved is Tennessee is a real national brand again, and that's only going to benefit them in recruiting. I mean, people that don't really care about Tennessee or don't care about the Tennessee-Alabama game, a lot of people saw that because it just went viral, went public, whatever term you want to use. Tennessee has gone from just maybe they'll do something one day to a national brand, no matter what happens on Saturday.
No, but getting back to Saturday, I think Tennessee fans are going to be very, very pleased with what the outcome of the game, as long as Georgia doesn't come out swinging from somewhere that they haven't come out before last season. I mean, that is the last time I've seen a Georgia win. That was very, very, very impressive. The thing about the Oregon win against Georgia or the Oregon win this season at Georgia was they had a year to prepare. And I think people give them a lot of credit for that win. And I get it. They did well, but that was just out coaching. That was all that it was. And you're not going to get out coached here. Like Heupel's not going to get out coached by Smart. That's just not going to happen.
Jimmy says today is my birthday. Happy birthday to you. Jimmy says tomorrow is my present. We'll see. A couple of other thoughts. Hey, it would be interesting to hear your thoughts. Who has the better defense, Alabama or Georgia? Outside of the Tennessee game, Alabama is better based off stats. So I do want to dig into that because I think that's an apt comparison. Good morning to you as well, Rolly SZN. History will be made. We shall see. A couple of other numbers that I wanted to throw at you is 3:30 CBS tomorrow is when it all goes down. And Caleb, I'm curious, you're not in East Tennessee. You work remotely. And so you see this from a different perspective, but Tennessee, as far as a national brand, how much do you think things have changed in just the past month, and what Tennessee has been able to do? How are they viewed differently, do you think? And for those that don't know, Caleb lives in the Baltimore area. I'm curious, the coverage from a completely outside the region perspective, how different Tennessee is viewed maybe as opposed to August the 30th.
So I'm a little more unique because I stand out covering college football in general up here. There's just a level of apathy Maryland right now is 6-2 and nobody's really talking about it. But if you're in the college football realm, I will say on a national scale, there's still a lot of talk about Tennessee. I think there's been a desire for a long time now from national media for Tennessee to be good because of what you just talked about. People like to see Tennessee be good. It's good for the sport. And so I think that I actually would say that this is something that nobody saw coming, but it's something that people have embraced in a lot of ways because Tennessee's just a fun team to watch, but also just from a national perspective, I think college football's better when Tennessee is good. And I know Wes Rucker got some heat for that when he tweeted that a month ago. It's true. Like, you want Tennessee to be good. You want the Celtics and the Lakers to be good in the NBA. Like, you just do. And you want Tennessee to be good in football. And you want the Cowboys to make a run in the playoffs. I know you like hearing that, Dave, but
well, I've just gotten beyond that. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So I think there are about 15 schools, and Tennessee's one of them, that if the NCAA college football gods, whoever they may be, could make relevant, I think Tennessee is one of them. I think you include Alabama, go west, Southern California, Texas, Georgia. Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to come up with that list of schools that you would want to be good. Ohio State, Michigan would be in that list. I know that we kind of rip on the Big Ten from time to time, but Amanda, there are that group of schools that when they're all good, you not only get the fans that are going to be there if you play UT Martin, but you're going to get a national response. And I think that's what we've seen out of Tennessee so far this season is a national response. You don't just have to be a Tennessee or an SEC fan to enjoy the story behind this team and the fact that there's just a big difference, Amanda, when Tennessee rises up or Alabama rises up when they were irrelevant's not the right word, but when they had Mike Shula as a head coach and then when they rose up, there's a difference between doing it at those type of schools as opposed to a Baylor or Cincinnati. No offense to those schools, but there's just a difference in the impact you have on the overall sport.
I mean, yeah, the Baylors and the Cincinnatis and, even the Washingtons of college football, they're not as, I mean, their offense might be fun to watch, but it's hard to tune in when you have a fan base of literally 50,000 people. It's different. Tennessee has a huge fan base, a huge following. And also, I know I hate those stupid SEC teams, SEC commercials that say it just means more. I mean, but really in the South, it does just mean more. And there are teams that you want to be good because you love to hate them. Some people love to hate Tennessee, not quite like Tennessee baseball, because I think everybody besides Tennessee fans hated Tennessee baseball just because they seemed cocky and arrogant and in your face. But it was good for the sport. It was good for baseball. You hate Ohio State. Everyone hates Ohio State unless they like Ohio State. But if you don't love Ohio State, you hate Ohio State. But it's still good for the sport. You want them to be good. So with the rivalries the way that it is in the SEC, even if you don't like Tennessee, you still want Tennessee to be good because it's a rivalry and it means more whenever you face each other.
It's kind of a big downer. Let's be honest, Caleb. When Alabama was going through their stuff, or now to some extent when Florida's going through their stuff, I don't know that they're in that top 15 that I mentioned. They're right at it. But when Tennessee has gone through their stuff, and it's kind of a downer for those premier programs to just be horrible. I mean, if you're a college football fan, I know that Tennessee fans are probably saying, I'd like for Alabama to win 2 games a year for the next 50 years. And I get that. But still, as a college football fan, it kind of stinks when the premier programs are down, and Tennessee's one of those.
Yeah, and some, you're never going to have all 15 rolling at the same time. That we
right.
Need. There's always going to be some down and some up. I do think that's where, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to separate the top 15. I think then there's a top 5, and I think college football has suffered because Tennessee's in that top 5. I don't think Tennessee's a top 5 most successful program of all time. I got them in the 6 to 10 range. But I think their fan base is top 3. I think if you were to name 3 schools where you would want them, I'm sorry, I go knee deep on Vol Twitter, guys, and Vol Twitter is way more brutal than any other team or community's social media. You don't want to get on the wrong side of Vol Twitter. They will destroy you.
so let me go back to what you said. You think they're one of the top 5 schools that college football wants to be good?
I say top 3. I mean, I would really push maybe number 1. I don't know if there's a more. All schools have passionate fans. They all have passionate fans. I don't know if it runs. I got enough evidence and data to show that, particularly on the online scene, and particularly with fan engagement, I mean, it's hard for me to find a greater one than Tennessee, quite honestly. And you have to remember, Tennessee has as a state, a uniquely big market for a college football program. That's true. You've got 2 cities in the state of Memphis and Nashville. Memphis is it's all SEC in Memphis. There's not one SEC team that dominates. The whole SEC has a fan base in Memphis, but Nashville, I'd say Nashville's just straight up Tennessee country, like through and through. And that's a top 40 market in the country.
Yeah, and Amanda, they're also not superseded by an NFL team, an NBA team, so Caleb's right. Their market is bigger than most. They're very similar to Columbus, I think, at Ohio State, in that it's a pretty good sized market as far as a television radio market. They're in I think Tennessee, Knoxville is around the 50 to 60 range, and Columbus, I think, is a little bit bigger. But you also don't have a professional team to compete with. So it's an interesting point that Caleb brings up.
I mean, you have the Titans, but not.
Mm.
But the Titans are they're so new, and they're not the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not, the New England Patriots when Tom Brady was there. They're not dominant. People are going to flock to the most dominant team in the state. And right now that's clearly, the Vols. But the Vols were here before the Titans were here. Titans are again fairly new. Predators, fairly new. The Vols have been here clearly since 1869 or something like that. I can't remember when they were established. But Tennessee's been here for a long time. Vanderbilt, there's no competition with Vanderbilt. Not in football, very rarely have they been good in basketball. And baseball is really their sport. Memphis, there's no real competition there either. So, they have Tennessee's pretty, long. They have a pretty big area that they cover.
I would say, too, that it's not just limited by the state's borders. I think there are a lot of Tennessee fans in the Carolina area, the North Carolina area in Asheville, which I didn't know until I started covering Jonathan Crompton's recruitment. But that is Tennessee territory. Big time. They're not rooting for the Tar Heels in football. They couldn't care less.
Because they're not good. Or they haven't been good. They've never been good, except for, they're decent now. But they've never been a powerhouse. Tennessee has. So it's easier to root for somebody that's won it versus somebody that's never going to get there.
Yeah. So we had Hendon Hooker sign a deal with Mercedes of Knoxville, Caleb. And again, going back to your point, when we talk about television markets, Knoxville is a significant one. And Tennessee's usually almost always going to dominate there, with the exception of Jeremy Pruitt being there. They're going to do well in Nashville, but they also do really well in Atlanta. There are a lot of business people there that move to Atlanta, and they control some NIL dollars. So in terms of the TV market, when we start to look at that and break it down, I think that's a factor as well. But yeah, I think Tennessee's big in Atlanta. I think they're big in that North Carolina area. South Carolina split between Clemson and South Carolina, obviously. But I think Southern Kentucky, I think there are a lot of Kentucky fans who are Kentucky basketball fans and Alabama football fans. I'm sorry, Tennessee football fans. So, yeah, threw you off. So I think there are a lot of those as well, Caleb. So when it comes to fan support, maybe you're right. Maybe it is top five. I hadn't thought of it like that. But who would you have in your top five as far as if the NCAA could say you're good forever, at least relevant, at least competing for championships? Who would be your top five?
I'm a top three: Tennessee, Texas, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Top four: Tennessee, Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame just is such a national brand that, and maybe throw in Michigan or something like that. But yeah, Tennessee, Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan. That's my top five.
It's intriguing. Your thoughts, Amanda?
So top five, I would say I would go with Texas. I would go with Michigan. I would go with Alabama. I don't see how you leave them out.
You're right.
I would go US.
I forgot.
I would go USC, and I would actually probably go either Florida State or Miami.
Interesting.
I would just, Tennessee, don't get me wrong, I'm not mad about it. But as far as dynasty kind of, who has been relevant and all of that stuff, then that's who I would go with.
Miami, a younger. You all right there, Caleb?
Yeah.
Miami, a younger set. So is Florida State. I guess if I had to pick just off the top of my head, I would say Notre Dame. I would say Alabama. I would say Texas. I would say Southern Cal. Coin flip it at Michigan, Ohio State. I'd probably go Ohio State, and then maybe it is Tennessee. I was thinking more along the lines of a top 15, but if you want to talk about a top 5, maybe that's interesting. All right. So coming up on the program, we'll visit with Jonathan Crompton and Caleb. I want to get your score prediction. Who do you have in the game? And I know you're good with the gambling, so better than me. So what about the spread and all that good stuff?
Amanda has brought me over to her side on this. I did a deep dive on Tennessee this week, and I think Tennessee wins for a couple of reasons. I think that Alabama, and we had a chatter post this on the side, on the message board. Alabama is only 2 spots behind Georgia in terms of pass defense yards given up per attempt. They'd be ahead of Georgia if it wasn't for that Tennessee game. So this idea that Georgia has a better secondary than Alabama, I'm not seeing. I don't think playing on the road is going to impact Tennessee, and I wrote about this last night, because I think the tempo Tennessee runs doesn't require as much communication at the line of scrimmage. And also, we've heard some people say that Sanford Stadium is not that loud. And so
it's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it's not.
And then so
I will tell you this. I will tell you that the loudest stadiums are and I was going to write something about this. Vols Time said Eric Ainge says the atmosphere at Georgia is overrated. Well, overrated pulls somebody else's opinion into it, but I think he and I are probably on the same page in that I don't think it's that intimidating. It's got the open end. It doesn't get that loud. If I started a list of most intimidating places to play, it would be some of these will surprise you, some won't. LSU, Florida, I think are right up there. I think Neyland is that now again. I think that I think Auburn is incredibly underrated. I think that place is really, really loud. And those would probably be my top 4. Now, I have not been to Texas A&M, which probably deserves consideration. That's one of the schools I haven't been to, and I haven't been to Missouri, which doesn't deserve consideration. And we'll see what Texas and Oklahoma bring to the table. But I don't think that Georgia's that difficult a place to play in.
No,
I don't think so either. I mean, they have to hold up signs to, when I went there, they were holding up signs in the student section to get their point across. Whenever you have to, if you have to bring in signs to the game to hold those up to get your point across, then I don't think you're very loud.
So the only real factor is Tennessee beat Alabama because of a lot of penalties. Georgia does not commit as many penalties as Tennessee, and also Tennessee doesn't have the home field advantage to create those penalties. But I think there's also the other side is Tennessee is the best defensive line Georgia has faced since Missouri. Yes, I said it. Missouri, for all their faults, has a very good line, and they darn near beat Georgia. And so
they should have beat Georgia.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind is Tennessee's offense is so fast that teams don't have a chance to get riled up for second long or third and long. They're moving so fast. As long as they stay ahead of the chains, which they usually do because of the running game, the opposing crowd doesn't have that opportunity. So you give me 2 minutes, I give you Jonathan Crompton right after this off the Hook Sports.
Life's about choosing where you want to go and mapping out a financial path to get there. Of course, things don't always go according to plan. An experienced financial advisor can help you avoid potential hazards and find alternate routes. The right financial advisor is there for the journey, helps you plan for what's coming, makes adjustments along the way, and keeps you on track to reach your specific goals. Are you on the road to success? Contact us for a complimentary review to find out.
Hey folks, Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant.
It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Dish Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn at cctis.com.
What are you laughing at?
Well, sometimes I put like mascara on in between, and I'm used to the commercials we have, and so I always look for the Vassy Lawn and Garden commercial, so I know how much time I have, and I did not. That commercial was not on today. So
we want to welcome some new partners in crime or in covering Tennessee, and that is Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. They are all about the optics, whether it's cataracts or whether it is LASIK like I had. No more contacts for Dave. I'm all golden, and I absolutely love it. I can see up close, and I can see far away as well. That's Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. And the other ones I want to tell you about, which will absolutely change your life long term, is Guardian Investment Groups, Guardian Investment Advisors, I should say. And that group of men and women will absolutely take care of you. Go to GIA Plan today, GIA Plan today. So nowadays, you don't have to necessarily even be in the same room as your financial advisor. So you can go to the best because of video conferencing. Jonathan Crompton joins us now. Jonathan, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. You have to say something really insightful and good, because apparently we've gotten targeted once again.
Bring on Crompton.
Yeah, with all the find love on the best dating website.
Nice.
So yeah, there you go. I know you're happily married, but for those that aren't, they better click on those quickly if you're interested, because I'm going through and blocking them. So I'm assuming that's a Braves hat, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I
doesn't have the mullet.
No, I've got every team's hat. I'm actually a Dodgers and an Orioles fan.
Oh, nice. All right.
One team's fun to root for, the others not so much.
That's true. That's true. All right. So, John, let's get into this. Tennessee, Georgia, as far as a player, what's going through your mind, and how important is it to manage your emotions, John, because the game is still, if you're watching this live, 30 hours away, 32 hours away. How important is it to manage your emotions in a game this big?
I mean, obviously very crucial. The good part is, I think we've kind of harped on this before, this staff, I think, does a really good job of managing the players and the operations staff and just organization as a whole. So I think it's going to be very big. I've been kind of vocal about it in the past. I don't think Sanford Stadium is a bad place to play, right? I don't think it's the loudest by far in the SEC. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. We obviously haven't been ranked number one in a long time. So I think that's kind of the thing that a lot of people that are involved inside the program have to get used to again, right? We haven't had it in such a long time that we got to be able to, like you said, control our emotions, make sure that everything's on our normal routine. The bus to the airport, right? Guys, do your same stuff. Don't get out of your routine. At Georgia, I'm assuming they do it the same as we did. We had to bus to Georgia. We didn't get to fly to Georgia because Athens Airport was so small.
I didn't even know.
We would fly home from Athens in 2 planes, but we would bus to Athens. So I don't know if they do it the same. But, like I said, it's just normal routine, another day as usual. So that's going to be the biggest thing to make sure is just don't do anything different than we have done all year, because what we've done has obviously been working, right? And don't make it bigger than it needs to be.
It is funny you mentioned that about Sanford Stadium. And I don't know why that's become such a talking point. To me, it was just kind of common sense. And they have an open press box. So to give people an idea of what I have actually witnessed, Tennessee does not have an open press box. So I've gone outside during some of the loudest times to listen and try to compare. I don't think Georgia's in the top 5 of loudest stadiums, John.
No, top 5 in the country or top 5 in the SEC?
Borderline top 5 in the SEC. Here's who I would have, and you tell me. LSU, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, and then there's a little bit of a drop-off. Do you?
I would say, honestly, we're 1.
Okay.
Then LSU, depending on the year.
And I wasn't going in any particular
order.
No,
but I'm just saying in general, like I'm going to go in order. I would go us, LSU, Auburn. Auburn is loud as hell. And I don't know. I mean, they don't hold the most, but they get loud.
Yeah.
Florida, but the reason why Florida is because they finally admitted that they do pump in noise and music, but still it's loud. And Alabama, right? Alabama does definitely get loud. Georgia, they're not. And Mississippi State almost gets louder than Georgia because of the goddamn cowbells.
Yeah.
Right. They're miserable. But I don't think Georgia gets loud. I mean, I've been very honest about it in the past. I went on a recruiting visit there multiple times, and I watched them play South Carolina, and I fell asleep during the game. It's the only game that I've ever fallen asleep in. Now it was a late night from the Friday night game, blah, 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 blah. But still, it just, and I'm not hesitant to say this. It kind of feels like they're the North Carolina or UNC of the SEC in the sense of the wine and cheese type crowd. And that is not trying to hate. That's just my opinion on it because they don't get overly aggressively loud. They may now that they've been ranked number 1 for a few years, won the national championship last year, all this stuff. But it's never been a place to feel threatened to go play.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And Amanda, jump in here. To me, as far as this offense, I don't think even if it is one of the loudest places, they've been to LSU this year, but they were all hungover at the time. I don't think with this offense they get that affected because they have to deal with noise at home. There were times that Josh Heupel, said, "Be quiet, be quiet," and a lot of it's nonverbal communication. John, if you can kind of speak to that and how helpful that is, you think, for Tennessee on the road, whether or not it's loud.
Yeah, well, if you notice, most teams go to, or what we used to do is it's called silent cadence. We'd lift our leg on the road. Guard would look over, tap the center. Center would do a little head bob or finger point and snap the ball, kind of like Florida did against us. We'd do a clap. So even at home, we do a clap. So there's never a verbal cadence, right? I'll take that back. The only time it's verbal is when we go under center the one time a game. So the receivers they're signaled. They're looking at which one of the 3 coaches that are signaling is live, and they're getting their set formation and set route. The only verbal communication that has to be done is Hendon tell the line to play. And he walks up there, says to play, gets back in the shotgun, makes sure everybody's set, and goes. But the beauty of an offense like this is it's just one word. It's not like we used to do and we were having to tell them a lot of different stuff. All right. Or if we were audibling a play, have to go all the way down the line, blah, 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 and tell them the protection or the run game. So I don't think that the crowd noise is that big of a factor because it's such little verbiage being done.
Let me ask a quick follow-up on that, Amanda, if you don't mind. Okay, so why is it just one word as opposed to
Going
rattling
quick.
off? Okay, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, going quick. That's why. It's just everything is. So in I'm going to call them the older offenses. When you had a 2-minute drill, you would have said formation, said protection, said play as one word, and you just call it and go. And it never changed, right? In an offense like this, you lump all this stuff together to where everybody knows one word that's that route and that route combined, right? Both sides. The protection is automatically built in, stuff like that. So everything can be done quicker. When we're trying to average 60, 75, 85 plays a game, which is kind of absurd to think, but that's the mindset. We want to average that many plays. You got to go quick. You got to have one word. So it's essentially a guaranteed nonstop 2-minute offense, which everything is so short and sweet, but everything changes, but it's all compartmentalized into one like phrase.
I know that we talked about, and we always typically talk about, because I love picking your brain as a former quarterback in this league and playing against all of these teams. Now, and I'll say the only time Georgia fans they do get loud is outside of the stadium when they bark at you. I'm just saying, that's the most obnoxious thing I've ever seen. Stop barking at people. For the love of God, if you're a Georgia fan,
you're a grown man.
Yes, you are a grown man.
Barking like a dog. Now, one of my dogs is sitting right here. I don't go bark at her.
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly. Stop barking. So, anywho, this quarterback competition between Stetson Bennett and Hendon Hooker. Again, I've already said that I don't think Stetson Bennett's that great, but can you weigh in on what he brings to the table and how they're different or who's better?
It's hard to say who's better because they run totally different systems. Totally different, right? I have noticed, and trying to think how to say this and explain it from my head, because I know what I'm trying to get out. If you look at last year, there's always, since Stetson's been there until this year, there's always been that other dude right there. He was never the guy from week one. He had to come in, so he always had to prove himself. This year, if you notice, there's been a few more. Now, obviously, they're undefeated. Obviously, they're a really, really, really good team, if not a great team. But there's been some weeks that you go, your play is not nearly what it was last year and the year before when you came in and played sparingly because you had that guy pushing you. Now it's like, and hey, we got to play Missouri in a few weeks. We may have a letdown against Missouri. We don't know. We got to play the game. But for it to be as supposed to being as dominant as Georgia is, there should never have been that close against Missouri, right? Kent State should not have been as close as 29 points or something like that. Or then when you're supposed to beat them by 60. You're the number one team in the country. So it kind of feels like there's not necessarily, because I don't know the guy, but it almost feels like he's got that level of I'm untouchable now that it may get to him sometimes. Hendon, you can tell, is just, this is what I do. I've always been the underdog. Yes, I've started at Virginia Tech. I was counted out, blah, blah, blah. And he has that mindset. So it's Stetson, but you can tell something's changed this year.
Interesting.
Like it just, when you watch his play, now, dude's athletic as hell. He is. I've been honest about, I think the biggest matchup this week is their tight ends versus our linebackers or nickel DBs. They got that advantage, which is what it is. They're stupid athletic, bigger and faster than our linebackers, which for any offense is an advantage. So that's a great matchup to watch. But with Stetson, I think we can rattle him easier than Hendon gets rattled. Look at, and I'll go back to this a lot. Look at Bryce Young when we played him. He got the snot beat out of him. He was getting up, dusting himself off, smiling at his O-line, patting him on the back, right? Go look at the Florida game when Hendon's just sitting there doing this, holding himself, looking at those online, giving thumbs up like we're good, instead of making it about me. And I don't know the guy, but it feels like this year things have been made about Stetson rather than University of Georgia offensive football. Hendon doesn't do that. That's where I think we set ourselves apart, and that's obviously I think we're gonna win, obviously, but that's why I kind of think we win, because our guys really, really, really buy into the personality of Hendon, which is a lot bigger than people think when it comes to football at the quarterback position. Yeah, you got to be able to throw the ball. You got to be able to make reads, but they got to take on your personality. They've got to trust that you're not gonna cave. That essentially the old cliche that you've got to die on the field with them. Hendon, you can tell they feel that way. I don't know if they feel that way about Stetson. I really don't. It just doesn't seem the same as last year.
It's interesting. And one of the things that you can say is that the recruiting's been such an incredible level that you can say from team to team, even those teams that have returning starters. But Jonathan, I think you can speak to this as well as anybody. Team chemistry and that sort of thing changes year to year. They were incredibly driven. I mean, they are two really different teams. At any team from 2 years, people like to say, oh, they've got 20 returning starters, which Georgia doesn't. But they say they've got all these the returning starters, same team. No, team chemistry can change and does change year to year, every year, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, because you have whoever's leaving, graduating, or leaving for the draft, and a whole new class coming in. And that's where, as soon as you can always say it in high school and middle school and everything, but in football specifically, every year, the team that I coached for in high school, we're in the playoffs tonight. All right, first round of the playoffs.
Good luck.
Well, I appreciate that. And the thing is, the guys got to realize is, one, don't make it bigger than it needs to be. But this is the last guaranteed game where this team will be together. Next year, it's an automatically new team. Seniors are leaving, freshmen will be coming in, guys from JV will be coming up to varsity, blah, 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 right? That's how it works, especially in college. You don't know what redshirt sophomores or juniors are going to leave for the draft, right? Look at Georgia. They had, seven guys on defense drafted? That's a pretty big chunk. So the chemistry has to be done. You say, oh, well, they were on the team last year. Doesn't matter. They weren't starting. You don't know how they're going to react in adverse situations. So the chemistry, I think, every year it does change. But more so, they take on the personality of your leaders. And your quarterback, regardless of if you want to be, is a leader. So I tell everybody I work with when I train them, regardless of whether you like it or not, everybody in that huddle looks at you and goes, we're going as you go. That's simple, because that's what you're taught in football. On defense, you're going as your middle linebacker or your free safety goes. Just what it is. They're the leader of that defense. So that once again, that's why I give us the edge, is I think that Hendon's personality has really kind of rubbed off on the team of, no matter the situation we're in, we're okay. Regardless of the outcome, we're okay. Because this one game does not define how great of a season this has been so far.
I think I was looking back at Georgia and their schedule, and they only beat Kent State by 17 and this season, which I think was a big red flag for a lot of people. It was 39-22, and I think it was kind of the end was where Georgia pulled away. This Georgia-Florida game last weekend, I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but yeah, it was way closer than the score predicted, and Florida beat themselves pretty much. Missouri did the same thing, beat themselves. I see, everyone says Georgia's so good, so good, so good. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Is it because they're not playing as a team, or is it a lack of talent? What makes Georgia what they are right now? Why are they not better?
It's not a lack of talent, that's for sure. Right? They are very, very uber talented. Again, their tight ends, I think it's either 3 or 4. Now they're not all eligible for the draft, but if they were, it's either 3 or 4 tight ends that are in the top 40 draftable players. I mean, they are very talented. But, and that is a big but. So again, I go back to, you take on the personality of your leaders, aka your quarterback. JT Daniels he's a really good quarterback. Wish he would have went to West Virginia. That's a side note. right? But when you watch them at Georgia, you're like, you're winning, you're playing well, you're not making mistakes, right? Stetson comes in and understands, oh, I cannot mess up. I've got to be right here. Well, now who's behind him now? A freshman that is not going to take his job right this second? See, that's what I'm getting at. So that's where it's almost like we know we're better than this team. We're going to screw around for a little bit, and then we'll just make a run at the end. That Missouri game should not even been close. No. Missouri should have ran away with it. That's the sad part, right? Missouri just doesn't have enough dudes to finish that game off yet. And if you're the number one team at the moment, or when that happened, the Kent State should not have been as close as it should have. Missouri should have been a freaking blowout, right? Yes, every game in the SEC is hard, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, it's football. Every game's hard. It's football. You're taking two grown adults and saying, let's go physically hurt each other. Yeah. Like, it's always going to be hard. So when Kirby says, every game in the SEC is hard, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happened with Vandy? 55-0. Vandy's just as bad as Missouri. That means you had a letdown. To be the number one team, you don't have letdowns. So I really think that it goes off of internal locker room, and it started with the quarterback. I think Stetson's a great athlete. I think he throws a pretty ball. I don't think he's a guy that you go, hey, man, we got 1:45 to go. We got no timeouts. We just blew them getting you the ball back, and we're down by 4. We got 93 yards to go. Go win me this ball game. I don't think he's that dude.
No,
there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't think he's that guy. Bryce Young, yeah, he's that dude. You know what I mean? He's that guy. He's proven that time and time again. He's that. Look at Texas this year. Hendon, I think he can be that guy. The guys believe he can be that guy. I don't think Georgia's that team because they got to go run, play action. And I think they know that now.
Speaking of the Alabama-Georgia comparison, let me ask you this. And I don't know how much you're able to see because it's always better to be at the game to see secondary coverage, but or game tape afterwards, the all 22. But when you look at Georgia and Alabama and the back end, their secondary, how would you compare the two?
That's a really good question. I think Bama's secondary is better now than it was when we played them. What's that kid's name?
Eli Ricks.
He transferred from LSU.
Eli Ricks.
There it is. I think he's a damn good player. I do.
Yeah.
I'm glad he wasn't playing, throwing that out there, right? I think he makes them a lot better. I do think that we exposed their star or, dime DB branch, number 14. And so Georgia, let's call it is, everybody. We understand. Kirby and Saban have been on the phone. Hey, what should I do here? Blah, 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 blah. They're buddies. They've coached together before. So Georgia does have that up that they're going to get inside tips from Saban because Saban does not want to play us again in Atlanta. He would rather play Georgia because he knows it's a normal offense and he can compete with that. And so he's going to do everything he can to help if possible. So with that being the case, Georgia's secondary, I think, has the advantage now because they're going to have inside tips. But I think they're very similar as far as players because they recruit the exact same type of player. Taller DBs, right? When I say taller, I don't mean 6'4", but taller than the average 5'8" DB, right? Back in the day, you were a corner 5'8", 5'9", and that was tall. Now you're looking 5'11", 6 foot, stuff like that. Really rangy guys. So I think they're very, very similar. They run a very similar type defense. They coach together for a while. So that helps us as well. But I just don't – they've lost so much on defense, I don't think that they can match our schematics. That's the big thing. They have to play so fast. Nobody in the SEC, on our schedule at least, is going to play our pace, right? The beauty is we got Tillman back. Yes, he had a breakout game last year against them. Hyatt, obviously, he's tied and or broke the single season touchdown record by a receiver. Mm-hmm. You got Brew McCoy. You got Keaton. You got Squirrel. Then you got our three tailbacks. I don't think they're going to face that many people that are going to run track meet routes all day. So
No.
that's what helps us. As far as defensive secondary, they're very similar. They recruit the same guys. You're going to get a lot of the same, what I call bluff coverages, showing one coverage, bluffing it, and trying to get to that coverage to the other side. But the thing about our system is that doesn't matter. We read the same thing no matter what. So I don't think that they have an advantage on defense against us. I really don't. The advantage of the game is their tight ends on who we're going to have covering them.
You want to take part in today's tough question, Jonathan? How about that? I've got one for you. All right. Today's tough question today is brought to you by Pedigo Chattanooga. Pedigo Chattanooga is family owned and unique to Chattanooga, and Pedigo is unique to the e-bike market in that they're able to do service work on your e-bike. So don't buy one just off e-commerce. Go Pedigo Chattanooga. It's a great place if you want to rent to tool around downtown and have a fantastic time, but you'll want to buy one. It's fantastic to keep up with the young ones. That's Pedigo of Chattanooga. It is time for today's tough question.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my soupe, Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake, Kimosabi?
Oh my God.
And with Jonathan Crompton today. So other than Hendon Hooker, who will be the MVP of the game tomorrow? You cannot pick Hendon Hooker. Who will be the MVP?
Cool.
Jonathan, you go first.
Brew McCoy.
Wow. That is weird. Because I was going to go a little off script too. Okay.
I like Brew. I like what he does. I like what he brings to the table. No, we're not going to sit here and say, hey, you got Jalen Hyatt routes. You don't have to. Jalen can be a track guy, right?
Yep.
To me, yes, we need Tillman to play well, obviously, because when Tillman's over here and Hyatt can go both sides, but when they're over here, Brew's over here, and all eyes are over there, right? So he needs to be able to hit the 15-yard digs, what I call a bang 8, an 8-yard post, his, the wheel route stops, and be effective with them. And the thing is, if you notice, he's got like 500 yards receiving or something this year, and it's been a very quiet everybody else. So when you have guys like that can really bring up the level and go, oh, they get all the attention. Hey, this ain't no slouch over there. He's into the boundary most of the time. He's by himself. Let's get him. So I really think he could definitely change the game and especially put it away late with big catches.
All right, so let's get your thought on the message board. We have a couple of posts from Nico Slaughter, Cooper Mays. I would love that, but I don't know how you do that as a center, become the MVP.
You better get like 42 pancake blocks. we better run for 360, and they all better be in the A gap behind the center.
Yeah, he's got to be like that guy in the bad guy in the Avengers movie, just destroying people.
Honestly, literally just get out of here.
Ramel Keaton gets a vote as the dark horse. See, I like that. And I was going to go along the lines of what Jonathan said, but I wasn't going to go Brew McCoy. But let me go with Amanda first. So other than Hendon Hooker and now Brew McCoy, who is going to be the MVP in tomorrow's game?
Jabari Small.
I like that one.
All right. Yeah, so I would like
I'm going with
Jabari Small. I'd like to round it out because I was going to go with another receiver. I was going to go Cedric Tillman. I think he'll be 100%. He was on a snap count last week. And I do think people will be more mindful of Jalen Hyatt. How could you not be? Jabari Small was one I thought about this morning as well. And then the other one that I want to put in there is Byron Young. Because goodness gracious, how can you not love his story? The guy was managing a Dollar General 4.5 years ago, Jonathan.
But the question is,
yes,
for the Dollar General part, was he managing the one that was like a quarter mile down the road every day? Because they seem like they're just 0.25 miles apart everywhere you go. Or was he at the same store? Or do they say, hey man, you're a mile down the road on the fourth store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I swear they just pop up everywhere around here now.
They do. We could make the story better. He turned down a regional manager job overseeing $18 Generals so that he could go to Georgia Community College and then to Tennessee. And he turned down
awesome.
that lucrative regional manager job at Dollar General.
You don't know. It could have been they could have paid really nice money.
I did read something about Dollar General
House. He's had to make a few more dollars an hour than that next year.
Possible.
I think he's about to do pretty well. I love that story, and it's one that because of Hooker and Hyatt and all the stories on offense gets overlooked. But Jonathan, you have to love that story. So we're going to go with Jabari Small. We're going to go with Byron Young and Brew McCoy and Cedric Tillman. If it is Jabari Small, John, then you would say that he had a big game running the football. Is it necessarily bad if Tennessee relies more on the running game than the passing game tomorrow?
No, I've been very vocal. So far, knock on, but everyone knock on, I've been undefeated in the sense when we rush for 150 yards plus, we win the game because that means we're playing ball control with how we want to play it. I hope that I want that streak to continue tomorrow. Obviously, and the closer we get to 200 yards rushing, the better our chances are, right? So I love that play with how we play offense because we're a big home run threat that way, throwing it. But then we control the ball and get into those advantageous down and distances by running the ball effectively and staying in 3rd and 3, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6 to where we can go for it on 4th if we need to. So I love that pick about Small.
John, it's funny you say that. There was a stat in the 90s when you were a younger man, and I was a younger man for that matter. But Steve Spurrier, when his teams rushed for over 100 yards, they were something like a crazy 36-0.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And we've rushed for over 150 yards every game this year. And that's the thing is when we get to – and it's funny because on the halftime show, people throw on there and comment to me, hey, we're X yards away from it now. Because I just, for whatever reason, that's kind of that sweet spot for our offense is if we get to 150 on average, we're really hard to beat because now we can take our shots and that opens up our pass game. It keeps the safeties a little lower, makes the linebackers step up a little bit. So anything we throw, 10 to 15, 12 yards somewhere in there is more open with width because the backers have to step up. That's why we can't rely only on the pass. And that's, but that's also technically speaking, if we wanted to say a dark horse, we could have said a group and said the whole O-line because they have the hardest job of giving us protection off of the play actions to go deep because it doesn't happen it's not a quick throw. So there's a lot of fun stuff to be looking for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll offer another one. How about Jalen Wright?
Yeah.
And here's why I say that. I think we all like Jabari Small, and there's you should, but I'll be honest with you, as far as just a natural runner, I think he's got a little wiggle that maybe Jabari Small doesn't have, John.
Well, I'll tell you who's got some wiggle is Samson.
Oh, yeah.
But he's our number 3, right? Now, depending on what happens. Now, the thing that with Small that gets me is just make sure that he's protected in the shoulder because you can tell he's wearing that Sully brace. Just make sure he stays healthy. Now, obviously, he's not going to feel it during the game unless something bad happens. But if something were to happen and he's out, then don't be surprised if we start using Samson a lot more for the speed game.
All right, I could see that. All right, well, Jonathan, final prediction. How does this game shake out? Give me a thumbnail sketch of what we're going to see in Sanford Stadium tomorrow. Very quiet Sanford Stadium.
I think early, truly, we it's kind of back and forth. But then I really do. I think in the second half, I think we're going to not necessarily run away with it, but run away with it for the SEC. Not as bad as LSU, obviously. But I'm gonna take us 42-30.
42-30. Great stuff, John. Enjoy the weekend. Good luck tonight, man. Who you guys got? And what are the key matchups there? Don't give anything away.
Well, we're the number 2 seed in the state. We're playing the number 31 seed, but they're not a number 31 seed. Their head coach was suspended early in the year for some whatever reasons for 7 games, and they went 1-6.
That sounds really salacious. But anyway, go ahead.
I mean, they're a really, really good team. They're not a 3-7 ball club is what I'm getting at. So tonight we got to make sure that we don't have a letdown thinking they're 3-7. So that's on us coaches to do that. And but we're playing really well. I mean, we got to do the little things, throw and catch, run and block like we normally do. We're averaging 45 to 46 points a game. So we need to average that again tonight to be safe. You never know. They've got a tailback that runs about a 4 or 5 flat that can just move. A couple big tight ends. So our defense has got their hands full, but offensively we've got to do what we've done all year and schematically mess them up with formations, which I like doing that. Right. That's the fun part. So I'm in the box and it's really fun watching them. I script the first 10 plays to see how you're going to line up to certain formations and then go from there. It's very fun to say that. It's very fun.
Have fun. Good luck. I'm curious as to what that coach did. Is it recruiting or salacious?
I think it was like recruiting or something because you can't. And I don't think it was actually. I think the state is the one that did it just to try to prove a point. I don't think it was anything bad. I really don't, because it was something with a crosstown rival that was like a new school that took some kids from his school because of where they live.
Oh, okay.
And,
it wasn't like a Mike Price situation.
No.
Okay.
But it wasn't even like, oh, hey, you need to come here. We'll get your parents a job type deal, from my understanding. So, you never want to see that happen. I feel bad for that coach, but they are a good team. If we don't do what we're supposed to do and they somehow beat us, they're a team that nobody wants to play thinking they're a 31 seed, because if he's there all year, they're probably a top 5 seed, top 6.
Last I heard, it was you guys were favored by 6.5, and I did take you guys against the spread. So good luck, man.
I appreciate that. No pressure.
I do.
It's cool. Like, one of our centers' mom got all the players and coaches a shirt. So it's got our conference championship, and then they put tombstones for all the teams with the scores. It's actually kind of funny.
Nice. I do have a buddy who has a bit of a gambling problem, and they were playing golf one time, and they said, "What can we gamble on?" And the guy in their golf group said, "Oh, well, my nephew's playing middle school basketball," and they went and they gambled on middle school basketball. Sat in the stands and gambled on middle school basketball. I would.
When was that?
It's either going to be really good, or we got to admit we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we're way past that point.
Oh, we're way past it. Okay.
Yeah, that mean when you're betting on middle school football or basketball or whatever you just said, we are way past the point of admitting we have a problem.
I'm just waiting to hear the story of somebody saying, "Hey, little Johnny's T-ball team, he didn't go 3 for 4. Where's my money?" Right?
I wonder what bookie takes that.
They were just betting amongst themselves. There wasn't a FanDuel involved.
Well, I know, but it would be funny if a bookie just went to like different middle school games and was like, these are the odds I got for this team in red.
Technically speaking, you could get that going in your own hometown and be like, "Hey, by the way, I'm taking this conference all year. We got spreads and we got over-unders. Who's in?" Yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but somebody's going to do that at some point.
Yeah,
probably, if they already have it.
It's a side gig.
Jonathan, great stuff. We'll talk to you soon. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Jonathan Crompton, nice enough to join us. Good luck to him tonight. More on the Vols coach Lance. Your opportunity to win stuff tomorrow. Win stuff today. And we'll talk about the game more tomorrow. Stay tuned. Give me 2 minutes. I give you the world off Look Sports.
The world.
Sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Hey folks, Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ottawa. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hello.
History, putting things in perspective, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You're so old. When you were a kid, rainbows were black and white.
And Amanda LaFratta.
New Kids on the Block just called. They wanted you as a backup dancer.
All right, here we go. Coach Lance set to join us here momentarily. This day in sports history, as we get to this day in Tennessee sports history. How about that? Do you think it will involve maybe Georgia?
Did you just say involve?
What did I say?
Involve, but involve as in INVOL.
I always say
Involve.
balls.
No, but you just said involve. I didn't know if you meant to do that because it includes vol.
Yeah, well, it's this day in Tennessee sports history. So that's where we're going with that. So let's go ahead and get to that. Do want to have Coach Lance here. So we always look forward to him as he is fantastically funny. I had somebody ask me just the other day. They said, hey, I saw your shirt on some guy that does funny videos. And that was indeed Coach Lance. So, all right, let's get to this day in Tennessee sports history. And it is this November the 4th is where we are as we cruise into the month. November the 4th, Tennessee defeated Duke 34-0 in 1978. Beat Duke 34-0 in 1978. And Tennessee, as you would expect, beat Duke regularly up until some guy named Steve Spurrier came along in the early 90s and pulled off a massive upset, went to Florida, and the rest is history. And it is funny, that whole Steve Spurrier yarn that is out there. And Amanda, if Tennessee was willing to throw the ball a little bit more, he would have gone to Tennessee, may have been Tennessee's coach, may have won a Heisman at Tennessee, but they weren't willing to adjust. That's certainly not the case with Josh Heupel, who has been very willing to adjust, Amanda. He is that creative offensive mind that's not going to settle into one thing, which I think is pretty impressive. And I do want to remind everybody that Amanda picked Tennessee to beat Georgia way back in July when we started the show, and you're sticking with that. So give me kind of a thumbnail sketch of how you see this game shaking out.
So the way I see this game shaking out is I see Georgia trying to cover because they automatically think Tennessee's going to throw the ball down the field early. Tennessee goes up a couple of scores running Jabari Small, maybe Jalen Wright. I don't know. Either one. They'll go up a couple of scores, which will put Georgia in a bind. Georgia will then have to throw the ball with Stetson Bennett. Can't happen. I mean, he can throw the ball, don't get me wrong, but unless he hits number 0, Washington, just all the time, I don't see them coming back from that. Their run game is going to be shut down because they're not be able to run the ball. Because they just don't have They don't have the offense type that'll be able to throw downfield. So I think Tennessee stops them. I think it ends up being a 14-point victory for Tennessee.
Tennessee wins by 14. I've got Tennessee 38-31. I was asked to give a pick on another show earlier in the week, so I wrote it down. I stick with it. I'm not very good on predicting games, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a 14-point victory. Now, I know that fan bases and even some media can get pretty zoned in on the team that they cover, and that to me is easy to do with this team that is exciting. But at the end of the day, Amanda, I look at both teams, and yes, Amanda is working her magic, Jamie. I look at both teams, and I just think you've got a team, if you want to use the whole psychological thing, you have one team that believes they can turn it on and turn it off and do what they need to. And that may be the case. Maybe Georgia comes out there and plays that much better than Tennessee, but I don't think that's sustainable or doable. And I think Tennessee is a very driven team. And I think that Tennessee is not going to be at all affected by being on the road. They weren't against LSU. And I know that you had the early kickoff fumble that really just it ended the game before it even started. And then you had the big punt return right after that, after Tennessee took a 7-0 lead. But I go back to the Pitt game. There were tough times in that game, and Tennessee responded. And I think Tennessee will do that again this week. Now, are they going to be put in that sort of position? We'll find out. We'll see. But I do believe that Tennessee will be able to overcome adversity if they find it. And they may not even find it. They could get off to a fast start and have the game in hand. I think the thing that's going to be interesting to watch is if Tennessee does get off to a fast start, how does Georgia respond? Are they able to get some key stops? This game, in a lot of different shapes, forms, and fashions, seems to favor Tennessee, and this season does as well. Nolan Smith being out is just another factor. You know, if you go back and look at Tennessee's bye weeks, which I've mentioned before, they always seem to come at the right time, or they always seem to come when Tennessee, or you have a UT Martin game after a big win. So it just seems like the table is set for Tennessee to win this football game. Now, not to be Debbie Downer, if they don't, Amanda, there's still an awful lot to play for. You could still make the college football playoff and lose tomorrow.
I think if they don't win this game, I don't think they're the Tennessee team that we thought that they were, because or Georgia just gets up. I look at Tennessee, Alabama. I look at that game, and I know Alabama had a lot of penalties, and I get Neyland's really loud. But since Tennessee is going to be the visiting team, then that shouldn't matter for them. They don't make stupid mistakes. Everybody that Georgia's played thus far makes stupid mistakes. I mean, they just do. Missouri makes dumb mistakes. Florida made like 15 in the last quarter of that game this past weekend. Georgia is, I know everyone says they're talented. They just don't play like a team. They don't mesh the way that they play. Somebody's always not on the same page. And I've seen that multiple times this season. The way that Tennessee is composed, the way that it seems like nothing touches them on the outside. I mean, absolutely nothing. The way that their offense runs, I just don't see how Georgia could keep up. If you took Tennessee and you took Georgia and you took their names out of their resumes and you just gave us resumes, you would automatically have Tennessee probably by at least a touchdown in this game. You just would. I look at the Tennessee-Alabama game and focus on, and that's what I kind of pull from this to make my prediction for Georgia, Tennessee. Tennessee's offense is going to remain the same, or it's going to get better, because we've seen that. It's just getting better. Georgia's defense is getting sloppier. I think Alabama has a better secondary than Georgia does, just based on statistics, based on who they've played and what other teams have been able to do against them. I think that it'll be a 14-point victory, and I think somebody said there will be a crap touchdown scored at the end. I believe that as well. I think that Tennessee would probably be up by 21, and then that touchdown comes in and makes it a 14-point game. That's just where I'm going with this.
So the MVP, we picked between 4 players. Jonathan Crompton said Brew McCoy. I went with Cedric Tillman. You went with Jabari Small, and we threw Byron Young in there. Out of that group, if it is Byron Young, then Tennessee wins handily. If he's the MVP at the end of the day, and the other guys that we mentioned have had good games, if Byron Young, if we're talking about him as being the MVP of this game, then Tennessee has won. There's no question in my mind. The other guys could be the MVP of Tennessee's team, and they could still lose because, this. I think this is going to be a little bit tighter than you, but ultimately, if Byron Young and this defense plays anywhere close to how they played at times, then Tennessee's going to win this game easily. But it just 1 point is enough. You've learned that from Alabama. 1 kick is enough. So that's all you're looking for. It's time for Message Board Bingo. We play that each and every week, and it's brought to you by our friends at Owl's Nest Barbecue. Owl's Nest Barbecue has all the barbecue supplies you could possibly want, and it's brought to you by Craft Treats. So Craft Treats is super cool. They've got the chill pills for your pet. And the chill pills are absolutely unbelievable when it comes to helping your pet with arthritis or anxiety or digestive issues as well. Those are the chill pills with CBD cannabinoids. But you can absolutely purchase any of the products and get 20% off just by using Off the Hook. Use the promo code Off the Hook, get 20% off. Great, organic, fantastic treats. They're awesome. It is time for Message Board Bingo, and here we go, Amanda LaFratta.
All right, this is a long one, so prepare yourself. It's okay. It's really good, though. And by the way, happy birthday to my husband and happy birthday to my dog. They have the same birthday. Continuing on. Okay.
And they're related.
Uh-huh. I get embarrassed.
Step dog.
No.
Yeah.
Not stepdog.
It would be a stepdog.
No, he's not.
It would be his. When did you got the dog before you got the husband?
It does not matter when I got the dog.
That's his stepdog.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I'll die on this hill. I will die on this hill. I will fight you to death.
Happy birthday to your stepdog.
It's not my. No, there's no such thing as a stepdog. Anyway, God bless. Okay. Tennessee reminds me of my ex-girlfriend. I get embarrassed every time I see UT on TV because they remind me of my ex-girlfriend, Tiffany. The year I dated her, I reached rock bottom. She was working her way up the obesity scale, had a terrible personal hygiene, and didn't finish high school. But by golly, she always believed her life was about to turn around. She'd talk about winning the lottery, inheriting money even though her family was poor, getting promoted to a management position at Walmart. None of those things were ever going to happen, but she believed. It was kind of sad watching her get crushed when she found out she didn't get promoted and when her aunt died and left her nothing. We broke up after getting in a fight at a gas station because I laughed at her when the cashier told her she didn't have a winning scratch-off. It turned out that she didn't understand the game rules. I'm 100% positive that Tiffany just spent the money she was saving for a tattoo memorializing her puppy that got run over by her nephew's quad runner on Powerball tickets. She truly believes that she's got the winning numbers, just as Tennessee fans truly believe they aren't going to get their blanks pushed in by Georgia on Saturday. We all know how this story will end, but they just don't see it coming. This
Brittany
is an ACC team.
Brittany says Kentucky, so it's an ACC team, which would explain why it's so loquacious.
So, yeah, off the rails.
It's a little long. All right, so Volunteer says Alabama's.
I don't know if I don't know who Alabama's is, but
Daniel says Georgia. Brittany's says
right.
Clemson.
It's Clemson.
So congratulations.
Why?
You have my email, Brittany. I'll hook you up with some barbecue because I know you don't have a pet. But again, go to Craft Treats.
Just why is my question.
For 20% off, go to crafttreats.com. Great treats across the board. And Clemson.
Why?
That to me is bizarro.
Why do you care,
Because-
Clemson? Playoff, maybe? If you make it past this weekend, calm down.
All right. So a lot going on over the weekend. Please like, subscribe, and share right now. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share, because on Sunday we're going to visit with Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren. So she is Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Final pick. I've got Tennessee 38-31 over Georgia, and you have
Tennessee 42-28.
42-28. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and we will talk to you on Monday, weekdays at 8:30